Hi guys, it's the Breakdown Rugby Podcast, and we're back with episode 4 of our Rugby Roundup. And Leinster took a surprising W this weekend. As per usual, skimming their way over to the final. What do we think about that first semi-final of the weekend? Keir, what were your thoughts?
Marvelous. That's the only thing I can say. It was a typical Leinster win, thrashing a pretty poor Toulouse performance, I thought. I think, yeah, it was just phenomenal all over the park. You had moments of brilliance from pretty much every single player, and they blew out a pretty good team on a bad day.
I think Leinster were just extremely good at taking advantage of yellow cards and being men up.
100%. Yeah, it was less for me Leinster being good and more so of Toulouse being absolutely terrible. So when I look at that, that does not inspire for me a lot of confidence as if I was a Leinster fan going into the final, thinking that they could do a job on a world class La Rochelle. You can shake your head all you want, Kieran. It's true. Shake your head all you want.
Sorry, no, you look at the performances from people like Jack Conan, who doesn't often get Ireland starts, players that are out of their position because people were in front of them, and he scored 2 tries. He was aggressive. He was dummy and bloody wingers before the end of the game. This Ireland team are just ridiculous.
Kieran,
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're acting like Jack Conan isn't an established international player. He's a
I
British
never.
and Irish.
I said he was. I said he was, but he's been out of position because of Doris playing at 8. That's what I said.
Kieran, he's done his job well, and I'm sorry, I sound like a broken record saying this, but
Yeah, you do.
you would expect any international rugby player to do what he's doing. He's a bog standard international rugby player, and he's not done anything so far for me to suggest he's any more. But on the topic of Jack Coonan, I mean, we've talked about I think Kieran, you came up with some key moments from the game, some key things. What were some of the key things that stood out for you in that game?
I think Ramos had a pretty poor game overall, but the highlight for him is his 50-22 early on in the game, 7 minutes, pinged it. I thought, you know what, this is going to be a good performance. And then after that, he kind of fell off. I think the Aki try, I think it was 9 minutes in, cut against the grain, beautiful moment. And then you had likes of Sheehan, for example, running through 6'3", just a monster, wasn't he? Capitalising a poor mistake from Toulouse, and he was under the post. So it was just a dominant performance from the Leinster side.
Yeah, what about you, Ram? What did you think was some of the key things you saw that game?
Some things that I found quite interesting is we talk about Caelan Doris and how good he is, but when Ireland and Leinster try and pair him up with Conan in the back row, he just seems to disappear in games, or maybe not play as big a role.
Thank you. And I don't think we've noticed that in a crucial cup moment, 2 games, whenever he comes up against world-class opposition, he fizzles away quicker than the fizz from a Coca-Cola bottle. I mean, he came up against Jasper Wiese in the Leicester Tigers game, disappeared, Houdini'd, right? And this game, I'll tell you what, I turned to my brother and I said to him, is Caelan Doris playing today? My brother said Caelan Doris played poorly today. And I said to my brother, genuinely, I promise anything, did Caelan Doris play today? And it's maybe it's a genetic Irish thing. I don't know. But aside from that, a performance of a Leinster player that really stood out for me, right, was Ross Byrne. I think all fears of Sexton's leaving Ireland should be alleviated now. I think they have got someone who's a good system player that can fit the system well.
It's just stupid.
Kieran, can you say he's anything else than that? Is he gonna be the guy for Ireland moving forwards that's gonna do crucial things in crucial games?
Rowan, if it's working, why try and fix it? All he has to do, right, is just do his job. He doesn't have to be spectacular. That's not what Ireland require Ross Byrne to be. They just want him to do the role which he is set to do, and he does it perfectly. He was immaculate from the boot. He controlled Leinster on the front foot. The likes of Dupont and stuff like that, they just couldn't match up to the physicality of the Leinster pack or the Leinster backs. I mean, Gary Ringrose has put a monster hit 60 minutes in, and you thought, bloody hell, this is a proper Leinster team.
No one's arguing with anything that you're saying, Kieran, but the fact is that there are going to be games for Ireland and Leinster, like in the World Cup, like the final coming up against La Rochelle, where players are going to have to step up a little bit or do a little bit more than what is just their role.
No,
but I don't think Ross Byrne is that
I
kind
don't
of
think
player.
they do.
Rohan,
I
you know
don't
what the
think
thing
they
is?
do.
You know what the thing is? and I'm not this isn't a Irish fans don't take this as a compliment. But when you have I think the thing is, right, when you have a good system, you don't need world-class players. You just need players that can suit the system. And Ross Byrne can suit the system. Ross Byrne isn't a player for me. There's a top 10 fly half that could start on any other international team. No, but he's a player that can emulate the Sexton role well and fit the system very, very well. And I don't think he needs to do anything more than that for Leinster. Because Rohan, you can't seriously tell me there's any like faults, flaws, anything that you could look at and say you would exploit about the Leinster system. Like, it's watertight. Let's be real. Let's be real. It's watertight at the moment.
Oh, I'll ask the question about their attack then. What happens when they come up against a team like La Rochelle, who are extremely good in the breakdown, and then suddenly their 2-second quick ball is turned into 5-6 seconds? What happens?
Well, that's just not going to happen. Like you talk about physicality, Leinster can match up to La Rochelle's.
I'm not arguing that they can. I'm not arguing they can match up, but we've seen what
you're comparing today's result where you saw Exeter, who were poor on the breakdown, right?
Yeah.
Against La Rochelle, hot on the breakdown. Exeter and La Rochelle are on far different levels in terms of 4-pack, momentum, everything.
Okay, all right. What about when La Rochelle did it to Saracens?
Again, Saracens are not a system team though. They are very good individuals that make up a good team. When you got a system, it's hard to break down.
Saracens aren't a system team. Can you repeat? Make sure I've heard that right. Saracens aren't a system team.
They're not. They don't play system like a Leinster, do they? They're not a massive system team. They can play off the cuff quite easily.
He is spitting there. Like, let's be honest, Saracens relied more on having world-class. Let's look at the 2017-2018 period. Saracens relied more on having world-class individuals than having a very, very good system. Their dominance was due to the fact that they just have better players. They didn't have a better system.
Are we gonna lie and say that their system wasn't the best in the world at the time?
It was decent, Rohan, but it wasn't like anything like Leinster level, Toulouse level, La Rochelle level. For me anyway, it wasn't of that caliber. But I think it's interesting we're looking at that game. Antoine Dupont, I know he obviously got screwed over. He had to move to 10, and Ntamack was there. We talked a lot about how Toulouse struggled. What were some of the positives maybe they can try and take away from this week, and things they can look to build on, and implications for French rugby as well?
You know, that role that they played Dupont in, I remember when he came off the bench a few weeks ago in the top 14 and he played a similar role. It's like Ntamack's still on the pitch, so he's not the 10, but it's almost like he's playing a free roaming role where he can go where he wants, pop up in the right areas and just do what he wants to do. I feel like that could be the future of rugby for good hybrid players like Dupont.
Why would rugby, when it's traditional, have positions for hybrid players that can play free roaming? Like, we talk about structures, Leinster being the best team right now in the Champions Cup, they play a system, which just shows when you play a system good enough, you're going to win Champion Cup games.
Yeah, but
Toulouse were out of system and they lost to a Leinster side. So that's how you've got to put it.
Rohan, if you look at it, Antoine Dupont is an opportunist. A lot of what he does well is because of his alertness. And I think him being at 9 gives him that alertness. But then when you put him at the 10 role, he doesn't look as dominant, as efficient, as effective as he does at 9 in that free roaming role. I think behind the ruck is where he belongs. And Ntamack at a 12, he hasn't got the size, he hasn't got the physicality to play a 12 for me. So I think that combination...
But I think you're getting it mistaken. Ntamack wasn't playing as a 12 in attack. He wasn't. He was basically 10. Dupont played the free roaming role. Sometimes he was popping up as like an extra forward and ball carrying. Sometimes he was getting the ball at first receiver, giving it to Ntamack. Sometimes he was getting it out the back from Ntamack. So that's the sort of
playing first receiver, he's playing 10, isn't he?
Sorry?
If he's playing one of the first receivers, then he's 10, isn't he? If he's
but put it this way, sometimes the 12 comes in and steps in at 10. It's not like the way rugby is moving, the 10 isn't always going to be the first receiver, the 12 isn't always going to be the second receiver. Like, there's more fluidity within position.
Yeah, fair enough, valid. What do you call it? So, yeah, what do we think this means for French rugby going forward? Would you guys, a lot of people have likened this Toulouse team to the French team. What do we think? Is this a cause for concern, or just it is what it is?
Not at all. I don't think it's anything to be worried about for France.
Okay.
It would be ringing alarm bells in my head if I was the French coach. I would be a little bit concerned about it. I would look at it and say like a dominant Ntamack, Ramos, and Dupont all in the same team got battered by a team like that and had no real composure in the game. I would say they didn't have a standpoint in the game. That was didn't have a moment of excellent from them. That would worry me a little bit.
And this is what I've always said about France. When the going gets tough for them. Sorry, you go again, Brian.
I was just going to say, what opportunities did Dupont, Ramos, and Ntamack have?
Yeah, but the point is, as a player of their calibers, they should be able to create opportunities.
I would argue that they did. I think Ntamack made a break in late first half, and I would say Dupont, with the ball he was given, carried well and made a lot of good meters where he had no right to. I think Ramos.
What about Ramos?
Ramos underperformed. No one can deny Ramos underperformed.
Rohan, my issue.
Ramos was about a 2 out of 10. I would give him a solid 2, and that's being generous. He was that rubbish.
2 divided by 2, that's what his performance was. You'll be lucky to give him a 1. Rohan, my issue is this is a French team that comes off the back of an unbeaten year. Ramos, Ntamack, and Dupont are arguably their best players right now. Am I lying here? Right? And they don't turn up. They don't. Rohan, they have France's best 3 players. Right?
I don't think they're the best 3 players at all. I think Dupont is up there. What? Come on. Oh my God. So Ramos has a few good games and suddenly we're ready to call him one of France's best players.
No, he was like one of the main reasons why France had an exceptional kicking game because he complemented Dupont. That's the reason why France had the best.
Yes, that's true. He's an important player for France. That doesn't make him one of France's top 3 players. You're looking at Dupont. You're looking at Aldrit. You're looking at Pinot.
Ramos is more important than Pinot.
Listen, run. If a team are most successful if they kick, and France are the biggest kicking team in the world, and Ramos is a large part of their kicking team, or kicking exposure, that is the main reason why France is successful. Because
what's kicking exposure?
Well, just kicking, his kicking is incredible. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, you're right. But then, if you put Delan in that conversation, he's a fullback that can do the same thing. If you put Jaminet in that conversation, again, another fullback that can do the same thing. I think Ramos is more there for his ability to attack better than most fly halves.
We saw that the only thing he done good against Leinster was a 50-22, which was outstanding, and that was his highlight of his game. So I think his kicking is more valuable than his running game.
I mean, tough loss for Toulouse, but obviously we need to focus on Leinster being in the final, and they're going to be coming up against, as we just learned a few hours ago, La Rochelle. A rampant dominant performance from them, and another W Durag prediction. Can we get some hashtag Durag W's in the comments? I predicted it. I said they're going to get 40 or 50 points put on them. Kieran and Rohan naively suggested that it will be a close game, maybe 10 points, and it's another common L for them. Why do we think La Rochelle was so dominant in their win against Exeter?
I think if you just look at all the players they've got across the board, especially in that forward pack, you have powerful ball carriers, but also players that are really smart and have good hands. Like Aldrit is the perfect example. Someone that carries really well, is extremely good in the breakdown, and then has the skill set to back it all up.
Kieran, what about you?
I think it's just the variety of tries that they can score. They're a team that can score. You look at the game today, you had cut inside lines, you have crossfield kicks, you have pick and goes. They can attack from anywhere, this French team, because they've got the physicality and they've got the speed and dynamism to score most tries. I think Keir Barlow is a real player that Leinster need to watch come the final.
100%. Wait, he's from New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, he can play for Australia, though.
Yeah, that'll be. I'd love to, because they're saying after Dupont, he's probably got to be considered the best 9 at the moment. He's just
no. That's not what they said.
That's what the commentator said.
He's the best. No, he didn't. He said he was the best 9 that doesn't play international rugby. That's what he said.
I'd take him over Gibson Park, to be fair. I'm not being.
Yeah, that's valid. Midson Park. He's
Barlow is just like he's so solid in everything he does, and then his eye for a gap, spatial awareness, like
those are things Gibson Park doesn't have, which is what elevates Keir Barlow to a different level. But I think we talk so much about La Rochelle, but we don't talk enough about Ronan O'Gara, a man for me who, if Andy Farrell doesn't win the World Cup, which should be for him, right? We'll get to the final. Farrell gets fired and you start again with Ronan O'Gara, because Ronan O'Gara has just made that team world beaters, and I honestly think they could have a chance winning next week. What do we think about Ronan O'Gara as a coach?
The thing is, I think being an international coach and being a club coach is always just a completely different challenge. Like, if you look at the players that O'Gara has had to coach and had to build a system around, they're very different to the kind of players he'll be introduced to when he comes to Ireland.
100%. I think in the game we're talking about today, the La Rochelle Exeter, I thought Exeter started really positively. Sam Simmons try in the first 5 minutes, incredible. And then since then, the try just came running in, didn't they? I mean, it was just a free flow in rugby, and Exeter, it was just like kids at the breakdown trying to learn the breakdown. It was just physicality for all, really.
It's the story of English rugby, isn't it? High hopes with no performance. I saw some Exeter fans in the comments of our video. That Joe Stone, was like, "Oh yeah, Durag, you know nothing. Exeter gonna perform well today," and they just didn't turn up. Absolutely obliterated on every single level. We talk about the Toulouse loss being concerning for French rugby. This loss should be warning signals for English rugby. It should be massive.
I really don't think so. This is what we watched is a mid to low table team come up against one of the best teams in Europe right now, if not the best team in Europe. Like, look at the two teams you compare players. And the scary part for La Rochelle, Dante and Boschier are still to come back and play in the final.
It's all right there. We've got Gary Ringrose. I say Leinster have got Gary Ringrose. They've got all these attacking players to just stop them, and defensively as well. Josh Anderfleet will be all over Boschier.
So guys, sorry, you go around.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, what I said before about the whole breakdown thing. This is definitely the most difficult team Leinster will come across in the breakdown. Like,
100%.
I think Aldry, after having to his standards a quiet Six Nations, he's starting to come back into form. He was probably one of the best players on the pitch. I really like the outside centre. Is his name like Suteni? Like, some of the skills, the offloads, the passes he was pulling off, crazy.
I think one thing for me, we talked about positive performances. One thing for me that's concerning is Teddy Thomas, someone that for me probably ain't going to be in the match day squad for France. He's got a bit more chunky, put a few more pounds on. And you can laugh what you want, but it's true. He's not as dynamic, as athletic as we're used to seeing him. Not as elusive as well, and he's also gone bold. So I guess that really help his case.
You're just wrong. Like, he's still. I genuinely think he's got the talent to be in the Penaud conversation, in the Will Jordan conversation. I think he's enough to. It's the off the field. Huh? What'd you say?
It's past
in the Penaud conversation.
Yeah, like, he's genuinely that good, talent-wise. He's got everything.
Yeah, he is. But he's not even starting for his club team.
Thank you.
Brendan Barrett came to go to New Zealand a lot. I still think Brendan Barrett's a top 10 player in the world. What he can do, ball in hand, 1-on-1, when he's given the task to finish a difficult try. Like, he's one of the best in the world at doing that.
I understand what you're trying to say.
He had an opportunity
La Rochelle to the All Blacks.
He had an opportunity today where he cut back inside across the grain. He tried to grub it through, and someone just booted it. He
had advantage. He had advantage. Why not try it? You've got
advantage or not, you still could have scored it because it's a difficult try, but he bottled it and just fell on the floor.
There was 6-7 players coming across here. He stepped 3 of them and tried to put a
he got across the initial wave of about 6 or 7 players. He had 1-on-1 to beat. He tried to grub it through. He gets blocked, and he falls on the floor.
If it worked, I'll tell you what. Yeah. Like, he's got the confidence to try stuff like that, and if it works, then we're sat here calling him one of the best wingers around.
But did it?
It doesn't matter. It will work.
Bro, that's an L. That's an L.
Kieran, I urge you, after this, go on YouTube, look up Teddy Thomas highlights. Some of the stuff that he's pulled up.
From 4 years ago.
Since like post-COVID, Teddy.
Rohan, COVID 2020 was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, right? We need to start looking at Teddy Thomas, face the facts. He's chunky. He's put on weight. He's bold now.
He was
He's
always
not
a
the
big
same-
winger. He was always big.
No, but he's put on Rohan. Tell me now, he's not even more chunkier than he was before. I just think, right? I'm looking at wingers for France. I'm looking at Pinot. I'm looking at Retes. I'm looking for Demontier. I'm looking for who's the other one?
Villiers.
Yeah. There's so many more wingers. I think they can do a job for France.
Are you going to tell me that any of those wingers that you named has the attacking instincts and the one-on-one ability of Teddy Thomas?
Yes, because Rohan, when was the last time Teddy Thomas for France? You talked about Boden Barron not being in New Zealand. I understand that's a national team. Teddy Thomas can't even make the bench for his club.
Dude, all right, he was on the bench today. He was starting last week. He started against Gloucester in the round of 16.
Gloucester.
It's a knockout European game, Taddy. He started and scored 2 tries, and we were all talking about how good he is.
Rohan, I just think the hype for him is gone. He's a deflated balloon, mate. Like there is no more hype there. There's no more pressure. There's no more expectation from me anyway. There's so many more wingers around his age. I'm looking like an Arenza. I'm looking at like a Lowe. I'm looking at a Blair Kinghorn. A Duan van der Merwe. You could probably say he's not top 10 in that conversation. He's not in that. He doesn't touch that conversation.
Dude, but you have to understand, because of for whatever reason, off the pitch reasons, him not getting on with coaches, he hasn't had the international game time that these players
have. It's an attitude problem. It's an attitude problem.
I was only talking about him from a talent point of view, not about his attitude. From a talent point of view,
anyway,
let's wrap up. Let's get on to predictions for the final, which I believe is in the next couple of weeks. Kieran, do we even need to ask what you're gonna say?
Ask me.
What's your prediction for the final?
20 points to Leinster.
A 20-point margin of a win.
I am backing it till I die. I am backing it genuinely. The systems, they will not be able to keep up with Leinster systems. I guarantee you.
Bro, do you want to
go? For me, I'm gonna say. Let me put it to a try in it, and I'm gonna say this: the Irish have never proven to be there for big game moments. This La Rochelle's got too much sauciness on them, and I'm gonna say La Rochelle win by a try. Leinster's best performance that day will be their fans waving their flags. Round prediction.
Yeah, it's such a tough game to call. I mean, you have the perfect system. Everyone knows their role in terms of Leinster. Then you have like the sort of the freedom and then the power and the dominance of La Rochelle. But like I personally, this was the same final as last year. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
And La Rochelle were so much better. I don't see Leinster as a team that's improved since last year at all. I think La Rochelle have got it in them to win, and I say La Rochelle.
100%.
So just to be clear, I'm the only one that's backing Leinster. I fully believe it's going to be a big margin.
Kieran, that's a really different change from you. You've never, Rowan, does this guy ever back the Irish team?
Are you feeling all right, mate?
No, I've backed them. I've backed Leinster in this Champions Cup since day dot. No one can take me away from that.
Yeah, they're just the most basic team to back. But anyway,
guys, when they're smashing teams about.
Guys, we've got we've got a couple of minutes left. Just as a quick 2-minute talking point, Chiefs. Now, Chiefs beat Crusaders this weekend. They haven't lost a game. Damien McKenzie, D Mizzy, D dot, D squared, D2 Trappy is absolutely balling out of his mind. And a couple of weeks ago, we said that, I know myself and Kieran said that we weren't too sure about whether they should start for New Zealand and that we'll pick Barrett Mwanga. I think you said that, Kieran, if I'm not sure, with me. But is D Mizzy now starting to be a confirmed choice for the All Blacks? Because for me, he has to start 10. With the way he's playing, he has to start.
I got him starting at fullback with a shootout between Barrett and Mwanga at fly half. If you look at last World Cup, New Zealand wanted to have the Barrett and McKenzie combination, but McKenzie got injured. And that was set to be very successful for them. So I think if they can get that to work between Barrett and McKenzie, then that's what you got to go for.
What about you, Keir?
I would still keep him on the bench. It's nothing against his. No. It's nothing against his performance. No, it's not. It's nothing against his performance because his performance probably would start him. I just think for New Zealand to capitalize on tighter results and the way rugby's going, I'd have McKenzie coming on, give him the free rein, and he will just tear a new one. He will tear it up.
It's criminal to not have him starting
Wow.
with the way that he's probably the most informed 10 in the world right now. And that can't be denied.
But Taddy, the most
you have to
informed
understand that putting him on the bench doesn't mean you're dropping him. You're just changing his role.
Yeah, but Rohan, I don't think Mwanga or Barrett deserve to start over him. He's very clear of them at the moment.
Taddy, who's a better player, Malcolm Marks? Taddy, who's a better player, Malcolm Marks or Mbanambi? Bongi and Mbanambi. So Malcolm Marks, who at the World Cup was on the bench. Doesn't mean he's a worse player.
It's a different scenario. It's a different
scenario. No, it's not. It's not. It's the exact same situation. The better player doesn't mean that he's on the starting. He's just on the bench.
I think for 10 it does, because the way the 10 starts, right? Malcolm Marks is on there to, I think, almost carry on what Bongi's doing and be a jackal threat for when Dwayne Vermeulen gets subbed off, right? But if you're looking at this situation, I think the way a 10 starts a game, right? It's like saying, oh yeah, don't worry, Scotland can have Finn Russell on the bench and then he can come on at halftime and do a job. No, Finn Russell sets the intensity for the game. Yeah, and do you see what I'm trying to say?
We saw it.
You never, if you're playing Finn Russell, he gets 80 minutes and he becomes the best player on the pitch automatically.
Yeah, I'm not saying he should be on the bench, and this is the point I'm trying to say about Mackenzie. Mackenzie has to have 80 minutes. He has to have 80 minutes.
No, but I genuinely think Mackenzie is the player that will excel coming on fresh legs when everyone's tired. He doesn't need to start early and get a feel for the game. He can come on and just adapt immediately.
Just the final point I want to make against Mackenzie, Barrett needs to give up the keys. Mwanga needs to give up the keys. New Zealand is now Mackenzie's team. New Zealand is Mackenzie's team. Mackenzie's the leader of that team. I'm not saying he should be captain. I'm saying he's the best player in the back line. He's the leader of the back line. Let him cook. Let him start. Even if you need to drop Barrett from Mwanga on the bench, drop Beauden Barrett. Don't have Beauden Barrett in that 23. That's my opinion. But
I agree with what you're saying about Mackenzie, but I think this is what you're saying is post World Cup, because you have these players that are all-time greats like Barrett, and you're saying that they need to give away the keys before the World Cup. It's not good. It's not going to work.
Rohan, nostalgia kills rugby teams. I'm telling you now, as a Springbok fan, I'm saying this.
Is that coming from you?
No. Nostalgia in the sense of players being past their prime, being allowed to play, like Beauden Barrett, kills rugby teams.
But what you need to understand is just because they're not at their best doesn't mean they still can't contribute.
Well, we'll leave it up to the fans to decide. Guys, this was episode 4 of the Rugby Roundup. Make sure to get at us on TikTok. We are nearing 30,000 followers. We're near 25 at the moment, and we've just achieved 1 million likes. And we've got 10 million views recently. So we want to thank you for your continued support. And next week, we're going to be back covering some English rugby and a bit more bits and bobs. But from us, from Taddy, Kieran and Rohan, it's been another pleasure. And we're going to listen to you guys soon in a bit.